Hey everyone, it's Greg with Spotted Tongue Woodworking, and in this video, we're going to build countertops. Not just any countertops, we're going to build concrete countertops, or cement. No, cement is wet, concrete is dry, remember that. So here we go, I had some leftover melamine from some other projects, and it's been sitting there, so I decided, I built a outdoor kitchen area, and because I wasn't smart about it, it wasn't a standard size, and I was not able to find a countertop solution that would fit the space. So, quickest and easiest, just build my own. So what we're going to do is take the track saw and we're going to break down this melamine sheet into all my pieces. And what we're doing is we're building two countertops. I had already previously built the bar top out of cement to build a concrete top, and that was able so I can troubleshoot and figure out everything that I was doing. So take that track saw, break down all the pieces for the forms, and what we're doing is we're going to be building these countertops 1 3/4 thick. So you have your base, so that's 3/4. So my side pieces have to be at least 3/4 plus 1 3/4 is 2.5. So 2.5 will be flush with the bottom. Just nail it. And what we're going to do is just building rectangles. So just nail it all the way. I found that it helps to have a little bit of an overhang, because that overhang will allow you to remove the edges of the mold to release the concrete a lot easier. After you build the molds, and then you just need to caulk the edges. With this one I used Alex 30-minute quick dry caulk, and was not happy with the results. So you want to use Dynaflex, something that's going to take a while to cure, and that'll help give you a nice round edge, and it will keep the cement in the form as it dries into concrete. And this is real ghetto, just in my backyard. So set up some sawhorses, set up some 2x4s, and obviously the yard is not level. So what we're going to do is we're going to level the forms on this makeshift stand. And so I'm just going to take my level. It's going to be concrete level. It's not going to be cabinet level. And just get everything's level. Put some shims under there. Make sure everything is level across and diagonally, and that way that they're going to be equal thickness all the way across. And now that everything is level and the kids are down for a nap, I can start mixing up my cement. And we're using 5,000 psi Quikrete. I got it from Lowe's, or you get it from Paul B, my favorite store, or you get it from Home Depot, or wherever. They probably have it. I went with 5,000 psi over the 2,500 or the 3,000, just because the higher the psi rating, the stronger the concrete ends up being, and with a high strength, it will just be nice for the countertop because it is not as thick as a traditional concrete slab. We're going to be reinforcing these countertops with fiberglass sheeting. This is actually for drywall repairs. I was talking with my dad, saying how I had to figure out a way how to reinforce these countertops either with rebar, or concrete countertop companies sell a little mesh mixture that you can mix in with it. And he's like, hey, try using this stuff, because you mix it with the drywall mud, it soaks up the drywall mud, and it's rock hard just with that. So I imagine with concrete, it's just going to add just a little bit extra support for the concrete to hold itself. And so far, now that I'm recording this and the countertops have been in for a while, they seem to be holding up just great. So we'll put that in there. That really soaks up the cement, so I feel pretty good about it. But we're going to fill the forms up to the top, and then we're just going to screed across and try to level things out as best we can, fill in any little imperfections. These are going to, if you look at it, this is actually the bottom of the countertop, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be as flat and smooth across, and you want to work it as much as you can to try to get as many of the air bubbles out. And we'll come back later and get more air bubbles out once both sides are poured. So we just keep mixing. Obviously I'm mixing in a bucket because I can control the mixture and control the mess just a little bit better. And if you were in the northeast, central mid-Atlantic season, you knew it was a hot end of June, which is when I made these. So now that these are all set, we're going to just take the sander without any sandpaper, and we're just going to vibrate them. This is my makeshift vibrator to try to get the air bubbles off of the edges get the air bubbles out of the cement, off the edges of the forms, so that, well, you get rid of the air bubbles. You get rid of the air bubbles, you're going to end up with a stronger pour, or stronger slab rather. and it was actually really incredible watching it go. I didn't really get a good close-up of it, but as I was going, I can watch the air bubbles coming out as I moved the sander all the way around the form. So this is definitely an important part of doing it. And just for kicks and giggles, you know, as they were still starting to set up, but there were still bubbles coming out, we had the kids take hammers to the edges and try to knock more of those bubbles out along the sides and also along the bottoms to get the bubbles out and get everything to settle as nicely as we can. Now that, you know, as the concrete started to set up, and as again, like I said, it was a really, really, really hot end of June. So what we ended up doing is I put plastic over the top of these to slow down the evaporation so that the would take longer to cure, because I believe if it cures too quick, it's going to crack more likely to crack because it's going to cure and dry out unequally, not equally, and we don't want it to crack. So let it sit for a week, have the plastic on there, really slow down the evaporation of the water, make sure everything cures all the way through. And once, you know, again, we let it set for a week because it does take longer than a slab in the ground because the water has nowhere to go. So we knock these forms off and, you know, they pop right off. You know, it's not like doing an epoxy table where you had to use mold release or packing tape or whatever, is it just comes right off, which is really nice. The issue I ran into was the 30-minute caulk rather than the Dynaflex 230 or whatever, is that it skinned over, but it didn't dry. And what happened was that as I was moving it, the caulk was still wet, so I was getting wet caulk everywhere, but then it stuck to the edges of the slabs a lot more than the Dynaflex did. If I had let the quick dry caulk dry a little bit longer, it might not have done that. But I definitely noticed a big difference in the edges. You know, the caulk does give a nice little round over to the edge, so you don't have to worry about that. But that compared to the previous one I did with the Dynaflex caulking, and it really, you know, in hindsight, I would have used that Dynaflex again. So, you know, again, we poured 2 slabs, so 2 sides of that little built-in grill station using my Blackstone, and that's it. You know, I'm not going to say these were light; these are pretty heavy, but it's a relatively cheap project. You know, for you think how much, you know, stone countertops from a countertop company cost, or even how much like a butcher block cost or whatever. You know, I had less than 10 bags of cement, concrete mix, and leftover melamine for the forms, and just a little bit of time. So definitely, you know, if I were to buy everything new, probably about $100 in materials. So that's not bad for the amount of countertops I was able to make. So you have to just kind of flip it over. Really want to make sure I don't chip the edges. You can see right there that how that caulk really just kind of stuck in. Just it was still really goopy even after a week in the mold. So again, don't use quick dry. Use something like Dynaflex or something that will exterior rated, that will dry really securely. Yeah, I'm Greg with Spotted Tongue Woodworking, and there will be a part 2 on how to seal your countertop. Thank you. Have a good day.